Hey guys, Aaron Cybertron Zhang here, and today we're just jumping right into Road to Ranked. In the last episode, we used this really fun rank number 1 team featuring Araquanid, so we'll be playing a couple more games with it today. Once again, huge thank you to JMOdri for the team. Details for the team are in the description below, and if you haven't seen the last episode, would highly recommend it. Araquanid was honestly a complete monster in that one, and so yeah, I was really impressed by it overall. So, first game of the day, this is just a generally scary team because there's a lot of potential setup, right? Like Nasty Plot, Weakness Policy, Moltres, might be Weakness Policy on the Metagross, potential Sucker Punch from Grimmsnarl. I think it's more likely it's Policy on Metagross and then Moltres is like a Life Orb. But maybe my opponent's like trying to bait me into thinking that. And then Calm Mind Leftovers, Fini is obviously scary as well. The thing is, I really don't want to deal with screens. Screens is a pretty big nuisance. And I also want to cover for the Entei plus Metagross lead. Go with Entei plus Metagross. What's my best answer? Celesteela. Landorus plus Celesteela is actually pretty interesting here. And then I'm thinking Porygon plus Araquanid. The thing about Amoonguss here is that my opponent has Tapu Fini, so Spore becomes a lot less effective. Regieleki is actually a pretty compelling max option, but I think Entei plus Metagross, like Weakness Policy Metagross, is just like the best bet for my opponent to go down in this set. So yeah, we'll see. Either way, thanks so much as always for watching Road to Rank. If you enjoy, please share support by leaving a like in the video. I'd really appreciate it. And question of the day, with a bunch of brand new Pokemon games coming out soon, I want to know what your hopes are for them just in general. What do you want to see from them? And yeah, what are your expectations and hopes? Generally, I think for me, I just hope that they're games that I can play and enjoy for, you know, more than I would say a month or so. And so I'm looking forward to really trying all of them out. And yeah, we'll see which ones are the best. So it's Grimm plus Moltres. Alright, this is pretty interesting. Would you really max Moltres here? The thing is, I don't want to max against Grimmsnarl yet. Like, mainly because I'm just nervous about this being tricked, but I think it's likely, actually, I don't know. Is there any way I can indicate, like, what kind of moveset I think it has? I also don't want to activate a policy on this thing if it's actually policied. The play I'm leaning towards making is Swords Dancing here, and just going for Flash Cannon. Because this, like, lets me scout out a turn for what Grimmsnarl wants to go for. Okay, they just go for Light Screen. You know what? I think this is great, actually, if they're just, like, Light Screen Nasty Plot. Well, then I guess the question is, like, Moltres can obviously max and just max Darkness next turn. And obviously, Grimmsnarl is just going to want to Reflect now. Are you Weakness Policy on Moltres? Because it totally could be Policy Moltres and then AV on Metagross. I don't know, I just like don't love the idea of Rock Falling Moltres if it actually is Weakness Policy'd. And the thing is, my Landorus now can one-shot everything else on their team, right? Like, what I'm thinking is we just max here. I think I'd like to Airstream this turn, KO the Grimmsnarl, and then go from there. And I'll just Flash Cannon into Moltres here. Okay, the problem with this is if they have Fake Tears on Grimmsnarl, and their Life Orb, because what they could do is Fake Tears, max Darkness, or max Airstream into Landorus. That could spell a disaster for us. So it's pretty interesting. Both of us got set up on turn 1. They're gonna max Moltres here, yeah. Like, my line of thinking right now is, hey, we outspeed my opponent's side of the field, and even with Reflect Up, they're still have to deal with the +2 Landorus, which is like a little bit stronger than their Moltres, and Landorus can one-shot most of their remaining Pokemon. We've got Metagross, Entei, Aleki. Those all faint to a Max Quake, even with Reflect being up. Okay, so they just go for Reflect. That's good. I mean, it should mean that we survive the turn at least with Landorus, and that's the most critical component right now. Honestly, I wonder if it was worth going for Airstream into the Moltres slot instead. Because, like, what's Grim really going for? It's mainly the fear of fake tears, honestly. Because I think having fake tears seems decently likely, given how many special attackers are my opponent's team. Not bad damage from Flash Cannon, honestly. And they're going to also go for Airstream, yeah. Okay, so, yeah, my big question here is, are you weakness policy still? They're not Life Orb, so I think it's decently likely they're policyed. Now the question is how much +2 Rockfall plus a Flash Cannon does. And they bring out Entei. Entei is also interesting because, like, do you just protect Entei? I have a Araquanid in the back, so I'm really not that worried about it. And I don't think a Sacred Fire will KO Landorus from this position, so I think I'm willing to just go for a max Rockfall onto G-Moltres and Flash Cannon it. I don't know, Moltres Max Guard here is really risky because if I read into that and targeted Entei with the Max Quake, it feels like I just win the game off momentum. Because if you're my opponent, you really need to maximize your damage output with Moltres right now. I just don't know if Rockfall into Flash Cannon's enough to pick up the KO. What you could do if you're my opponent too is you don't necessarily need to target Landorus, right? You could say, hey, you're going to activate my weakness policy. Or actually, even without policy, Max Darkness. No, actually, because of AV, I don't think +2 Moltres would KO Celesteela. Okay, they actually switch out, so I guess that was kind of a bait. That's interesting. And they didn't they didn't go for Max Guard. I think Flash Cannon plus Sand gets us the knockout here. That's a really interesting switch. I don't fully understand that yet. Okay, there's Berserk. Oh, it's buried. Oh, that's actually, like, the worst item to run into here. Ah, wow. I was prepared for anything but a bulky berry. Oh, no. That's bad news for us. That actually explains the switch, because Entei doesn't put nearly as much offensive pressure on as Regieleki right now. Yeah, because if they weren't buried there, Flash Cannon plus Sand was getting the knockout onto Moltres. Wow, I haven't seen bury Moltres in quite a while, and that's really going to save my opponent here. Really cool. How do we win this now? Oh, man. Yeah, if it weren't buried, like, we KO Moltres, and then we should just win the game because we bring out Porygon and just click Trick Room. But the berry makes all the difference. And that's why items can make such a big difference in VGC. Feels like I have to bring out Porygon. It's just bulkier than Araquanid and takes... Like, Araquanid's obviously weak to Regieleki, but if you're my opponent, obviously they pressure with Max Darkness right now. Huh. You should double up onto Porygon here, right? My question is, like, whether T-Bolt plus Max Darkness KOs. It's a +3 Moltres, so I would think so, but I think my play here is to just Trick Room and go for the Flash Cannon onto Moltres. Yeah, wow. I was pretty confident in Rockfall plus Flash Cannon KOing, but Darkness should be enough to finish us off, I think. Was it worth bringing a Regieleki just to... Or sorry, bringing a Araquanid just to bait? I'm not sure. And unfortunately, Araquanid, I don't... Like, at this point, we needed Araquanid under Trick Room, so I needed to get Trick Room up. Wow, Moltres doesn't even feint... Does it even feint from Sand here? I don't think so. That also denies me a boost on Celesteela. Okay, it at least feints from Sand, but... Nicely done. Yeah, this game was definitely interesting, and the Regieleki switch was actually so smart. Like, I didn't understand it fully at first, but it's because my opponent was able to, you know, bring out something that put on consistent, like, more pressure against, like, my side of the field in terms of damage output, right? Okay. It's probably dual screens Grim as well, so that makes it even tougher. The wild thing about this game is if I just went max Rockfall onto Moltres turn 1, that's like a game-winning play, but it feels risky. I don't know, though, because there's the Metagross on this team and an Entei, like, I should assume that the policy is on Metagross, quite frankly. So, like, I think I should have been willing to go for it. Is there any way in which we can win this game? Speed boost on both of these. Even, there's No, I really don't think there's any out here, unfortunately. You know what the out is, actually? Nah, I don't even think that works. Because you just Sacred... Oh, you could miss Sacred Fire. And I could get a double Protect with the Araquanid. Okay. So, I'm going to Meteor Beam into Entei. Try to go for the double with Araquanid. I think is our best bet. And we need to hope for some misses. I guess I could just T-Bolt Celesteela here. But yeah, you should just play safe if you're my opponent right now. Okay. I don't mind seeing Will-O-Wisp because we're special. So, if anything, this gives us slightly more outs. Because it bought us a turn. Like, now what's interesting is... I still don't think I'd beat Aleki. Like, Aleki is the best Pokemon to have against these two right now. I needed Landorus really to deal with this endgame. But if we get the double Protect with Araquanid, then it's a 2v1 at least. And I would potentially get to +2 special attack. Still think this is a loss, but yeah. Yeah, I just did not expect Barry on Moltres. That was like the one option I didn't consider. But I think I should have been able to deduce that the policy wasn't on Moltres. But like, some teams are built in a way to make, like, bait you into thinking that way. And I didn't want to fall into that trap. So, nicely done. Okay, yeah, I think I go for the double here. And then hope to force the 2v1. We don't get it. That's okay, though. We were going to need a fair amount of luck to win this anyway. Yeah, and that's the downside with the Araquanid. It needs to really either be going up against something that's pretty slow, so that you don't need to set up Trick Room, but against faster stuff, like, you really need the Trick Room, basically, right? And unfortunately, I didn't get it set up. So, if I were to replay this, I think I'd be willing to just Rockfall. And Meteor Beam actually doesn't KO Entei there either. So screens made this really tricky, but I think the endgame setup we needed was to basically make sure we got Trick Room up, because Araquanid under Trick Room completely demolished my opponent's core 4 Pokemon. But I didn't find a good opportunity to set up Trick Room. So I think in retrospect, what I would have liked to... I could have brought out Araquanid, Protect, but then I take so much damage, and then I don't get a safe switch it into Porygon. So you know what the play was? Nah, that doesn't even work. I was going to say, like, Protect Araquanid, switch Celesteela into Porygon, but then Porygon... Well, that actually could work if they Airstream, and then what we could do is switch Araquanid into Celesteela, but yeah. The main thing there was not knowing what item the Moltres had, but to be... Like, I should have deduced it was going to be a Healing Berry, because what else are you going to run if it's not Weakness Policy or Life Orb, right? Healing Berry naturally makes the most sense. Yeah, the policy is on Metagross. I just, like, with Entei on the team, like, I even said that in team preview, but, you know, I didn't want to go for it unless I could confirm. I also could have just maxed Landorus turn 1. If I just maxed and Rockfall turn 1, it feels like it'd actually be really tough for my opponent to win, because then their only max option becomes, given what they brought, their only max option becomes the, Assurance is really cool here as well. Their only max option becomes the Entei, and that's not super strong into us, so yeah. But nice play. Like, my opponent, I think, did not have the best matchup. They had to like gamble a little bit on turn 1, but it worked out really, you know, well for them. And that's the upside of using a Pokemon like Galarian Moltres, which is typically bulky, so like, and you know, so frequently carries Weakness Policy. But yeah, I'm trying to think what like the absolute safest route in that game could have been. Maybe it's to lead Aleki. It's just that I have no way to deny the screens, unfortunately. So it's like my opponent's guaranteed to get pretty much both screens up unless I double up on Grim turn 1. But even then, it's kind of tricky to do that. So, yeah. Alright, next team here. Celesteela feels pretty good here. The only thing it's really weak to is going to be the Thundurus on my opponent's team. I think this might just be a classic Amoonguss, Porygon, Celesteela, Araquanid core. You could make a pretty good argument for both Landorus and Aleki, though. I think they're both really solid here as well, but I think I'm going to leave those on the bench for this one. If I wanted to counter that, I think Amoonguss lead would have been really interesting into that last one, but I didn't feel great about Amoonguss in a best of 1 because my opponent had Fini. I guess in retrospect, though, is my opponent really maxing Metagross? Like, I should have thought a little bit harder in team preview about who their likely max candidates were going to be, and Moltres was by far their best one. So if I'm expecting Moltres, then Regieleki becomes a clearer bring, as well as Amoonguss, because if you're bringing in Moltres, then even if you bring in Fini, Amoonguss doesn't care about, or Moltres doesn't get affected by the Misty Terrain, so I can still Spore it. So, yeah. But, you know, I had, like, that's the beauty of having items that are... It's not like Citrus on Moltres is even, like, that, you know, uncommon, but Life Orb and Policy are so common. And it's like, as soon as I don't see Life Orb, I have to, you know, start thinking twice about what the third item could be. So, yeah. I think that's something that, like, is kind of tough to do in VGC, because you don't want to, like, lock in on an item that is obscure and then for your opponent just to be running, like, the common item, right? Like, some teams are built in a way to kind of bait you into thinking, oh, yeah, you're safe, to make you think that you're safe into going for a, for example, a, yeah, to bait you into thinking they're not weakness policy and then actually being weakness policy, right? Thundurus plus Amoonguss. This is really interesting because I think, like, it's likely their max speed. But are you really going to double up onto Amoonguss here? Like, do you expect Sash? Koba is also so common on Amoonguss, so... I think I'm down to just Ice Beam and Spore turn 1, honestly. If we shut down Thundurus... That was such a good play. Oh, that was such a beautiful play on their end. Wow. Honestly, it's fine, though, because I still end up putting the Thundurus to sleep as it comes down, but well done. I really love that play. That was awesome. That was awesome, yeah. Alright, I think we're just going to have two Amoongusses out on the field, kind of chilling right now. I'll put Thundurus to sleep, which is nice. They're going to go for Fly. I wonder if they doubled up onto the Amoonguss here. That would be a really strong play. I wonder if... I think without the crit, we probably would have survived with a little bit more HP. So that's definitely unfortunate, but that's okay. Happens. Okay, they do go for the Sludge Bomb here onto Amoonguss. So, if we get a Wake Up with Porygon, I actually think we're in amazing shape because I just get the free switch it into Celesteela. We actually do manage to Wake Up as well. So, like, the thing is, now I can just bring out Celesteela and max Airstream. What's the item on Thundurus? That's my other question. Yeah, I can just bring out Celesteela and max Airstream Ice Beam the Amoonguss. I guess the fear is if Amoonguss is Koba Berry here. It's actually definitely a big possibility. Regardless, I think I still go for this. My fear, it's just if you're Koba, you probably, you survive the double up here. I think Sash is... No, they have an Urshifu on their team, so actually I think Koba's very likely here. If they're not Koba, I actually think we, like, snowball this game very quickly, but I think they're going to be Koba here, because just like the last game, I don't see what other better item choice you have in Amoonguss. I guess Akaberry, but I think it should be Koba here, because Sash should be on the Urshifu. Okay, they're not Koba. That's actually a really big relief. So it is Sash Amoonguss, which means then Urshifu is probably choiced. This is what I mean. I'm glad we had this example, because in the last game, like, you don't want to get hard baited into thinking your opponent has a specific item on a Pokemon, because if you get hard baited into thinking that, it can, like, yeah, like, it can basically go really, really poorly for you. That was not a great explanation, but hopefully you get at what I'm trying to say. Which is, yeah, like, sometimes when you basically tunnel vision too hard into thinking that your opponent's running one specific item, and you don't cover for the other options, they can use that to their advantage, basically. They bring out Landorus, which is pretty interesting. We have a speed boost on this now, so I'm down to just max Rockfall into the Thundurus, and Ice Beam into Landorus. This is what I meant, right? I think Celesteela... Yeah, actually, my opponent just forfeits. Wow. And, like, understandably so, because their Celesteela matchup was Thundurus, which is why I wanted to, you know, put the Thundurus to sleep as early as I could. And so, yeah, I think we were in a really good shape in that endgame, especially because with the speed boost on Celesteela, I think my opponent's only chance of winning that game was to max Thundurus and basically pray that they wake up. But even then, max Lightning wouldn't KO Celesteela, I think. So, yeah. Celesteela is by far just one of the best Pokemon in the format right now. It has really skyrocketed in terms of popularity, and rightfully so. You know, it is just really darn good in this metagame right now. This is a cool team. Malamar. Okay. So one thing to note, Araquanid's base speed is 42. We're gonna be faster than Torkoal, faster than... I don't know Malamar's base speed off the top of my head, actually. It's just not a common Pokemon. Because they have Venusaur, like, I almost want to go with Landorus, but I suppose, like, that could be bad with Malamar. Obviously, I also have to respect, like, Redirection plus Snorlax, just follow me Belly Drum. That's pretty scary, actually. I kind of like Landorus Celesteela here. Wait, actually, why don't I just go Amoonguss? How are they gonna stop Spore? I don't think they really can. I'm down to go Amoonguss Landorus, like Spore Swords Dance. And I think I like Celesteela and Araquanid in this one. You can make a pretty good argument for Regieleki because if you check the Venusaur, and I think Venusaur is kind of in an awkward spot in this game, mainly because of like the Celesteela and the Landorus. So yeah, I think you know, Amoonguss has obviously been really common in VGC in general and in this format, but the Max Speed Amoonguss is really nice because I think like not that many people expect it and actually gives you an edge against like so many Pokemon. This is an interesting lead by my opponent. Okay. This honestly makes me think they're Crit Kiss. So this is where having Speedy Amoonguss can be very compelling. Because if you're maxing Togekiss here, what I can do, turn 1, is just go for Spore onto Togekiss and max Airstream with Landorus. The logic behind this is, hey, Landorus outspeeds Togekiss. If you go for Follow Me with Indeedee, well then Indeedee falls asleep and then I can just Spore the Togekiss the subsequent turn. If you go for Expanding Force here, then I just end up Sporing the Togekiss. Yeah. Crit Kiss has increased in popularity once again. I mean, it was like a really common staple in early VGC 2020, but it is definitely making a comeback in the format right now. So that's one set to expect from Togekiss, but obviously they can also just run like, you know, Disruption with Yawn, but it looks like they're going to max. So this is where Speedy Amoonguss can be really interesting, although this might not work if they're max speed Togekiss, and they just go like Airstream Expanding Force onto Amoonguss. Yeah, maybe this wasn't the best play then. Let's see. It comes down to how fast their Togekiss is. We get to a speed stat of 135 after the max Airstream. Yeah, they didn't go for Follow Me. Alright. So that's what I was hoping to see. It's great damage onto Indeedee. And if we manage to Spore a Dynamaxmon on his first turn, obviously puts us in excellent shape. Beautiful. Beautiful. Just as I was talking about Speedy Amoonguss, it comes into play. Okay, awesome. Yeah, that gives us a lot of room to work with, honestly. They're just going to Expanding Force. Yep, that's fine. You would think Indeedee now protects as Togekiss tries to wake up and max Airstreams into the Amoonguss slot. But now this is perfect switching for Celesteela, right? So let's bring that out. Get Regenerator, and then just get a speed boost off again. Okay, that was a really critical turn 1. But I figured... I don't remember what speed stat Togekiss hits exactly if it's max speed, so I want to double check that after this game. But Celesteela is like a really nice switch in here as well, because it's like, even if you wake up with Togekiss and you max Airstream, it's not even that bad for us. I like this play by my opponent, though. They're basically going all in, saying, well, Indeedee's not going to get any other attacks off anyway, no point in going for a Follow Me, so might as well just go for a Helping Hand, because if you get the wake up, hey, that's more damage. So I think that's a really good play. And I think there's no better option there. It's just, yeah, clearly the #1 choice. And Togekiss stays asleep again. I mean, this is like how a single item, a single EV spread can influence the game dramatically, right? In the game that we just lost in that first game, for example, it was the Citrus Berry on Galarian Moltres. Like, that single-handedly saved my opponent. Because I think if Moltres goes down in that game, Porygon should just get Trick Room up, right? And then in this game, for example, it is the EV spread on Amoonguss. And that's why EV spreads are really critical, right? It can often give you huge advantages. I think I'm just going to Airstream and Air Slash. Oh, no, we can miss Air Slash. I'm going to Flash Cannon. Well, actually, no, we Flamethrower here. Because it's super effective, but I want to guarantee the knockout onto Venusaur, and Venusaur being Koba Buried here is actually pretty likely. If they protect, so be it. Oh, okay, they're going for the switch into Torkoal, but it's not going to work because we have Lum on the Landorus. This is the right play for them to make, though. I think you basically have to really hope for sleep. But yeah, Amoonguss was the MVP of this one. Not much more to say about it. We actually got a dodge, but we have Lumberry, so yeah, it didn't make a difference. And let's see if they're sashed here. They weren't sashed, so Flamethrower would have just knocked out the Venusaur anyway. And we had the speed boost on the Celesteela, so then Flash, like we get a beast boost as well, and then we would just KO Togekiss. That's why Lum is really good on Landorus, because it sways the Sun matchup so much more in your favor, right? Because you don't have to worry about gambling against Venusaur sleep powdering you. You can just safely max against it. Curious on the item on the Venusaur. It's probably Life Orb, right? If it's not Sash or Koba. That's like the most likely option. So, yeah. Okay, max ends. Yeah, honestly, like, turn 1 just put us in such an excellent position. What do I want to go for now? Just Flash Cannon. I'll Air Slash and eat Rock Slide here. Actually, we could still lose the game, theoretically, if it's Weakness Policy Togekiss, so let's play around that. Nah, they just end up forfeiting. Okay. Yeah, I mean, lucky dodge for sure, but I wouldn't have actually made a difference. But, you know, good on my opponent to recognize that was their only play. Basically, you need to hope for me to not be Lumberry. You need to hope for that knockout. Or, sorry, you need to hope for that sleep. And then you need to hope for me to misplay with Celesteela in that position and go for the Flash Cannon onto Togekiss as well. But that's why I really like the Flamethrower play on a Venusaur. That double up covers for every iteration of Venusaur possible. And I don't really need to worry about the Togekiss in the position. Even if it's Crit Kiss, like we have AV on the Celesteela and we're maxed with Landorus, so you're not going to one-shot either of those Pokemon. Which, you know, basically puts us in a pretty good endgame position. So, yeah. Shoutouts to Speedy Amoonguss there. Now I want to quickly double-check speed stat of Togekiss. And Togekiss, if you're 50... I don't know, I can't say I've ever seen Timid Max Speed. Modest Max Speeds hits 132. Oh, so that's actually really nice. So you actually guarantee outspeed all modest Togekisses. Wow, rank number 6. Okay, should be a fun one to end things with. Okay, so it's Coalossal Pult. It's crazy how good Coalossal still is. But Togekiss has picked up on that team. Marco Fierro, the winner of the Oceania International Championships, recently won a pretty big tournament with Coalossal, and he used offensive Life Orb Dragapult with Surf to double as a max option, as well as Crit Kiss with Follow Me and Protect. So... I mean, we have Araquanid. I think it's probably Amoonguss, Landorus with Porygon, Araquanid in the back. Especially because we're lummed. Yeah, I think this is okay. Trick Room's really good, obviously, if we can get it up, but I don't want to hard force it, because the thing is, if I'm trying to guarantee Trick Room, I have to lead pretty passively. Which means like I'd probably have to lead Amoonguss Porygon. Oh, I guess I could go Landorus Porygon as well. We're gonna go with Rillaboom and Spectrier. Okay, I think that's a nice lead. I think this is decent for us though. No, is it decent for us? I don't know. Yeah, I think it's fine, mainly because... I mean, if you're my opponent, do you just fake out Phantasm Amoonguss right now? Huh, I could switch into Porygon to take a potential Phantasm right now. I really want to remove... Like, I feel like Support Spectre is more likely here, so they're going to try to Will-O-Wisp me, and we have Lumberry, right? I think the best play here is to max Airstream and Protect. This ensures Amoonguss survives turn 1. It gives us a speed boost, even if Spectrier maxes. Well, if Spectrier maxes, the worst case would be Grassy Glide and Phantasm onto Landorus, but I don't even know if that one-shots. Or sorry, 2 shots, I guess, if combining the damage. They are max spec, though. Okay. I mean, fake out into a Amoonguss and Phantasm into Landorus makes the most sense to me here. It's a pretty consistent play. I wasn't sure if Spectrier was going to be a max option, because on my opponent's team, like, Coalossal, Dragapult, and Togekiss all seem like pretty viable max options. But, like, Spectrier, anytime you see it, I guess you should actually always assume it's going to be a max mon. Yeah, I guess especially, like, does support Spectrier really make that much sense in the context of my opponent's team? Like, not really. I still think, like, this isn't even that bad for us, right? But I would have liked to see Spectrier just try to, like, Will-O-Wisp plus turn 1. Like, that would give us so much momentum. Let's see. Gonna get the Protect off. Okay. They're gonna strike Amoonguss. You know what? That is totally okay with me. Nice decision to not Fake Out with Rillaboom. A little bit risky there. Probably going for Knockoff or Wood Hammer then. Or maybe U-Turn. Okay, it's just Wood Hammer into Landorus. It's a lot of damage, but we'll survive and we'll get the knockout in return, so it's not that bad. But had I just clicked Spore turn 1 onto Spectrier, that'd actually just be game over. So that's the cool thing with this kind of Amoonguss, is that you actually can just win the game off like a really aggressive Spore to start the game. Now I'm typically a little bit more risk averse, at least in like ladder best of 1. Yeah, it's interesting. They did what, 2140 damage total, so we would have definitely survived. So it's a little bit risky for my opponent to not double up onto Amoonguss there, but it pays off for them for sure. They bring an Urshifu. Okay, that's interesting. Well, that makes a lot of sense. I don't love this. They're gonna have Cole in the back, right? This isn't a good play I'm making, but I'm running out of time. I think I actually should have just attacked with Landorus here, because I think if I'm my opponent, I'm doubling up into the Amoonguss Hawk with Max Strike and Surging Strikes. So yeah, I don't love this play. I think Airstreaming was the correct play here with Landorus. Yeah, there's Max Strike. This does give me Regenerator though. It allows me to get a Rage Powder off next turn, so it's not like the end of the world. And if they Surging Strikes into Landorus, it's actually pretty good for us. Okay, wow, they did Surging Strikes into Landorus. Okay, nice. I don't know. I think Amoonguss would have survived that strike, honestly. Now, if you're my opponent, you could go Phantasm Close Combat, but I don't know if a Phantasm KOs, honestly. And I think we win the game by setting up Trick Room, right? So I want to conserve Porygon right now and heal it back up and probably switch out into Amoonguss. Yeah, I like that play a lot. I'm going to Airstream into Urshifu here and then switch Porygon out into Amoonguss. Because then all I need to do is just Rage Powder Trick Room once, get Trick Room up, and then Araquanid under Trick Room looks really good into my opponent's team in the end game. Curious if they just didn't, like, what their last one is though. That's another big question mark for me here. Okay, they did go for the Phantasm play. That's actually really good for us if they, yeah, depending on what they do with Urshifu here, like if they just close combat. Okay, perfect. Wow, the last two turns like could not have gone any better for us, honestly. Although I suppose, actually, I would have preferred a Landorus KO, like, for them to have just knocked out Landorus here, I think. Because now I don't get the free switch in that I was looking for. Maybe it's still fine. Okay, so both of our maxes are over. The good thing is that Spectrier didn't get any boosts off throughout the course of this game, so that's good at least. I obviously can't protect Amoonguss in front of a potential close combat from Urshifu. I think close combat's going to be a damage roll here. That's the other really scary thing. Spectrier could have Taunt, but, you know, Shadow Ball, Mudshot, Hyper Beam should be its guaranteed moves. And then, you know, Taunt makes sense as a fourth, or just Protect. Okay, this next turn is pretty scary. I do have a speed boost on this thing, but that's not enough to outspeed Urshifu unless they're adamant. And they don't have like a ton of speed investment, so I shouldn't count on surviving. So it's pretty easy to Shadow Ball and Surging Strikes. so tough. I think I'm gonna switch Amoonguss out here. No, but they're gonna... I think Amoonguss gets hit by close combat here. What was the right play here? I don't know. Like, if I was confident on surviving close combat, I would have stayed in and clicked Spore. Yeah, honestly, it would have been better if Landorus went down last turn now that I think about it. Okay. They go for Shadow Ball, though, which is huge. Okay, this is perfect. This is perfect. I think we're in actually pretty good shape now. I don't know. Like, the last 3 turns have played out exactly how I've wanted them to, but, like, there was a lot that could have gone wrong with all of them, so it doesn't feel amazing. But the thing is, now I can bring Amoonguss safely and go for the Rage Powder Trick Room play. And I think if we get Trick Room up, our endgame is looking pretty nice, because Araquanid under Trick Room and Porygon with a special attack boost looks incredible into my opponent's team in this endgame. So we bring Amoonguss now, we go for Rage Powder. Yeah, like, there's just a lot that could have gone wrong if my opponent predicted the switches, and I think, like, Shadow Ball close combat would have been a... Well, I guess you don't want to double up onto the Amoonguss slot there. But our switches have been great for us, so yeah, we're just going to Rage Powder now in Trick Room. Yeah. We know they're Life Orb and Focus Sash, so there's no safety goggles or anything. So you can't deny the Trick Room here. Well, you could actually, if you crit Shadow Ball into Amoonguss, then you just Shadow Ball close combat. Ugh. Okay, so I need to avoid a crit here, I think. I'll take those odds, though. If we get crit, so be it. We've had our fair share of good luck in these last couple of days. Yep, so there's Shadow Ball. Okay, no crit. Nice. Okay, that should seal up the win for us if I play this endgame correctly. Because now I have the Spider under Trick Room. And that's the dream. Okay. So there's Amoonguss. There's Trick Room. Now it's time for Araquanid. Okay. Yeah, so then the question is really, what is my opponent's last Pokemon? Coalossal, Togekiss, and Dragapult. All of those lose to Araquanid plus Porygon, right? So I don't really think my opponent has a good shot at winning this now. The one thing to watch out for is potential redirection stuff with Togekiss, I think. But even regular Dragapult doesn't take Liquidation super well in the switch in. So, yeah, I think I'm fine to just Liquidation here. Should one-shot and try attack into Urshifu. Actually, is there a reason to try attack over Ice Beaming? Same type of attack bonus and status conditions on a potential switch out. Okay, they protect, that's fine. I guess the fear here is if for some reason their Spectrier is bulky enough to actually take this Liquidation. But I think it's always correct to spread up the damage here. But yeah, okay. I was like, we one-shot at Indeedee the other day with Life Orb Liquidation, so wouldn't count on Spectrier surviving. Nice. This was a scary game, though, because I felt like I needed to make multiple reads to win, and if my opponent predicted, like, the switch-ins and those, like, that chain of turns where I was trying to stall out their max, this could have played out really, really scarily. Okay, Togekiss is their last one. That's probably the best Pokemon for them to have a chance, to be honest. I think if it was Coalossal or Dragapult, this was basically a done deal. The thing is, Urshifu doesn't do super well into us right now. And they protected last turn. I want to be a little bit careful of a double protect. Okay, this is still potentially winnable for them. I'm nervous about Crit Kiss with Protect here, too. I think Liquidation into Togekiss and Ice Beam into Urshifu here is fine. They need a double here. I don't think this KOs, does it? Oh, boy. Well, it's probably... Okay, it's just Yawn, though. I was nervous about crit Air Slash there, but I think because it's just Yawn, we still win. If they need to get another Protect off with Urshifu. Yeah, okay. I think we're fine here, then. I split my damage here again. Yeah, I go Liquidation into Togekiss once again. I forgot we have Poison Jab, actually. I don't think Poison Jab would have KO'd anyway, but I think it... Does it do slightly more, actually, when you add same type attack bonus? Oh, they just go for Follow Me. Okay, yeah, that's never going to win them the game. because we're just going to double KO here. I guess I should have Tri-Attacked over Ice Beaming, but the Ice Beam would just have done more into Togekiss if they redirected it away earlier. Plus, they're at -2 defense, or special defense, so Ice Beam should always KO here. They're at like 5%, and we have a special attack boost. They're at 10%, not 5%. Yeah. Oh, that was an intense one. It was, I've had a long day, and that was definitely a fun game to end things off with. Yeah. I think ultimately here, we just had a chain of a couple of good switch-ins, but this is definitely a really scary game. I definitely was not anticipating the Rillaboom Spectrier lead, but the main thing here is, like, Regenerator on this Max Speed Amoonguss with Focus Sash is so good, and it allows you to chain a lot of cool combos in general, so, yeah. Anyway, that's going to be it for this one. So, yeah, feel free to try out this team. I'm not surprised to see it get to rank number 1. So, huge shout out to JMOdri once again for the team, and congratulations to him on an amazing run with it. Thank you to you all, as always, for watching. If you enjoyed, please share your support by leaving a like. Don't forget to answer the question of the day, and I'll catch you all next time. All right, peace.